Look, I know everyone despises ads and promotions. I do as well, and I don't want to interrupt the entire episode, so I just want to put this at the front and ask for a minute of your time. That's all. Just a minute, I promise. Through the Hoobie link down below, you should be able to find it. It's a weird name. You can find our link of links, and that gives you access to the Help Aimless Stay Aimless Fund if you want to directly support the channel. There's our Patreon, the AIM Project, where you have access to everything ad-free, and if you want to pay the $5 a month and help support the channel that way, you'll get access to aimless music, aimless shows, and aimless movies. You can also find our YouTube page, Aimless96024, TikTok, Instagram, X, and Buzzsprout for the audio files. There's also Spotify that has video files attached to them. Then there's Apple Music and Apple Podcasts. Unfortunately, no video there. But that's it. That's all I want to tell you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Stay aimless. See you soon. Hey everyone, welcome back to Aimless Dreamers Having Discussions. This should be number 7. Actually, this will be number 7. This is Aimless Tech 1, Part 1. Part 2 will come out later this month. I didn't know what I would originally use this series for. I didn't know how it would start it. But when I went to go record this episode about a month ago, it was going to be a Hot Wheels episode. And my computer, my laptop, sounded not so great. The fans were running on max speed, and the whole thing was overheating. Makes sense. I'm trying to run a Stream Deck through it. A capture card, a GoPro. What else? Well, even just those 3 is too much. And OBS trying to condense all the information into one video format is too much for a laptop. It makes sense. It's like yay thin. If you look at a laptop compared to a PC side by side, it just makes sense. Which I'm looking at the PC case at the moment. There's a reason why there are fans wider in width, 4 of them, compared to the laptop. So I'm trying to use something that just, it's not meant to be used that way. Not everyone will require a PC build to these standards. After a bunch of research, my requirements are a little bit more because I'm using some technology that is relatively new. Specifically, that capture card requires a Type-C port, but not just any Type-C port. It requires a Type-C 3.2 Gen 2 port. And there was only one motherboard, or a couple motherboards I could find that have that port. And that means that I have to build on an AM5 DDR5 platform. And that is exactly what is the worst things to purchase at the moment. However, I have to give 2 shout outs. Otherwise this wouldn't, well, 3 technically. Otherwise this episode wouldn't be possible. And I don't know if I'd have to put this on hiatus because even running this episode is a little bit sketchy. I'm a little bit nervous. However, I've done extensive research. If you asked anybody around me, they would tell you that I've been talking about this way too much for way too long. I'm doing too much research. I'm driving myself insane trying to fully understand PC building and the technology within it. I'm going to try and share as much information with you as we go. This episode will just be to show you everything I've acquired so far. It's you're going to say it's excessive. I'm going to do my best to explain why and just why I've chosen these parts, this type of build. I have so much information floating in my head and it's overwhelming. So I'm going to try and give you as much as I can. I'm going to miss some things. There will be links not only in this description, but part 2's description as well to the videos and channels I've watched and where I found the best help from. That will be difficult to do too. I have a lot of saved videos. I have a whole playlist that I've gathered in the last 3 weeks, a month, 2 months even. I've been interested in building one for about maybe 2-3 months, more hardcore. But 3 months ago, I was planning to do it just like I'll buy a piece here, buy a piece here, and then a month ago, my laptop sounded like it was going to explode. So again, I'm going to do my best. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty. I'm learning with you. You're learning with me. We're going to do our best. I'm going to switch cameras and we're going to have a look at each piece side by side. First off would be, which I don't know if I can get this in frame. Oh, that's not a good idea. Come here. Okay. If you can read that, that is the Corsair 5000D, which it was not much more expensive than the 4000D. And I've been told that it's actually not a bad idea, that it's a larger PC. It'll give me more room to work with. It'll give more airflow per se. It'll allow me to upgrade down the road. However, this, whoa, woo, this doesn't make me look very, I don't know how much this thing weighs. Maybe editor check to see how much this thing weighs, but it's heavy. And it's massive. I don't know where I'm going to put this. I didn't think that the 4000D and 5000D had such a big size difference. I don't know how much that weighs. I do lift kegs for a living currently, and that thing's heavy. It's probably not that. It's awkward. It's heavy. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, but that is the case that I've chosen. This setup is going to look really odd. I hope it's going to look pretty cool, but it might look really odd. This is a massive case. My GPU, which we're going to get to in just a second, is a 2-fan GPU. This case is definitely made for a 3-fan, which is fine. I'll probably end up with one at some point, but this current build will be a 2-fan. So everything on the inside is going to be awfully tiny inside a massive case. I hope that that doesn't cause problems. Again, all of the benefits I mentioned earlier. It's going to be easier to maneuver cables. It's going to be easier to place everything on the inside, and it's future-proof. It has 4 fans. It's fully modular. It should work just fine. I'm not sold on it. Anyway, I just don't know where I'm going to put it. I do love the look of the thing. It seems to have really good ratings, and people seem to not mind this case all too much. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I'm nervous where to put it, even just lifting it. I think it'll fit there. Anyway, I'm not sure. Let's switch to another camera, and I'm going to show you the other parts I've chosen for this build, plus some other small add-ons that I think if you're building a PC, well, if you're building one, which again, wouldn't do it right now, unless you're building an older generation PC, which is just fine. It depends on what you're trying to do, which we'll get into. Yeah, anyway, let's switch to the other camera. I'll show you what I have, and yeah, give me one sec. Alright, before we get started, I'm going to quickly give the 2 shoutouts that are very much required, that are going to make this whole thing possible in the first place. This here is to Max, and to Max, he has given me one of his old PC parts. I think this is from like 2005 to 2010-ish, and it is really cool to look at, actually, and to play around with. It has the old NVIDIA, I forget what type of GPU, if it's a 550 or a 650. It's a really old but it's not old. Like there are 90s or early 2000s NVIDIA GPUs that look even crazier than this, but this actually has the little mini idea of a GPU on it, and he was kind enough to give me also some sticks of RAM, which we'll get to that conversation here soon, and a fan for the GPU and a GPU as well. We will be using and having a look at this in part 2. I just wanted to quickly mention it. Well, quickly, and also the thermal paste that he's lent me some thermal paste to play around with, spreading it and dealing with the CPU so that I can have a feel for it before I use it on the more expensive parts that I've had to purchase. We'll get to that in just a second. And then I have to give a shout out to Eric as well, who has, this is a big reason why I'm able to do this. This RAM and RAM in general is extremely expensive. This is 32 gigabytes, 6,000 megahertz, CL28, which is insane. I can't even find that being available anywhere. He gave me this for what he paid for it, which was about 150 US, and compared to 400, 500, sometimes more US. Again, I can't find the CL28 available. I wouldn't be able to do this build without it. I wouldn't be comfortable doing the build without the older parts and being able to, I wouldn't be able to make this video. So again, thank you to Eric and Max. You guys are a big reason why I'm able to do this in the first place. Lastly, thank you to my parents for helping me fund some of the more expensive parts. This is a very expensive video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it ends up coming, I hope it comes together in a way that other beginners like myself will. I'm going to have video, I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm going to have the video links in the description to a lot of the channels and videos that I've found very helpful and very informative, and there's a lot to know and a lot to learn when building a PC, and it is quite intricate if you're not used to it, if you haven't seen a lot of these parts before, if you don't know a lot of the terms. There's a lot of reasons to be nervous. I hope to make and help you be a little less nervous, and that we can do it. Anyone can do it. You just have to be careful, take your time, do the research, so on and so on. And hopefully the video helps you as well. Anyway, that's the RAM. That's the older motherboard with the CPU, GPU, RAM, and CPU cooler. And we'll have a look at that in part 2. Now let's get to the rest of the parts that I have very expensively acquired. Oh my god. Anyway, 1 second. Following that, to get that out of the way, to explain how I've been able to do a DDR5 AM5 build, I have chosen my CPU, and I'm going to have to quickly explain why. Obviously, I had to choose AM5, but because I'm orienting this build around editing and productivity and content creation, the more cores you can get on a CPU, the better. If you're gaming, it doesn't really matter. Get a good CPU with fast speeds, and you don't have to worry about the core count all too much. But if you're doing content creation, you do. Not so bad if you're on the AM4 platform, which again, that's why I'm suggesting go use PC Part Picker, go do some research and see and use what you're using or trying to use. If you're using 2 GoPros, a Stream Deck, a capture card, a microphone, lights, etc., if you're running it all through a system, you're definitely a part of the content creation category, and you're going to have to spend a good amount more to use your technology and your equipment properly. However, if you're building it for gaming, if you're building it for even streaming gaming, that's much easier and much better than what I'm trying to do, and you don't have to go as crazy on the CPU. That all said, we have the AMD Ryzen 9 9900X. It has 12 cores, 24 threads. It was not cheap. It is probably, I think it is actually the most expensive part of this whole build. More than my GPU, which is insane. I'm not saying that this is necessary. It's not. It's going to be very beneficial for me based on what I'm doing. Again, not necessary. But that is the CPU I've chosen and the CPU we're going with. Along with that, we're going with the Peerless Assassin 120 SE White ARGB, which is a dual fan air-cooled CPU cooler. It's not liquid cooled. I don't think it should be necessary based on what I'm doing. If I do, I'll have to replace that part at some point, but I'm not comfortable doing liquid cooling, so this is what I've chosen. I've seen great reviews on this. I've seen that it should be more than enough to cool and keep the CPU cool under workloads, and I hope that it does the trick. And yeah, I have chosen the white. It is a white Peerless Assassin 120. You can get these on Amazon for $30, $40 US, so on. This, I'm not even sure what the price of that is. This is probably close to a $2,000 US build. It's very expensive. Again, see what you're trying to use a PC for. I'm really saying that it's not a good time to do this. However, since I'm doing it, might as well make a video for you guys for when the time comes that you guys want to make a PC build, that you can refer to this video and hopefully it'll be a little bit helpful or even entertaining. I'm not sure. Aimless Tech 1, that's all that matters to me. So yeah, that is the CPU and CPU cooler. Let's check out a couple others. Following the chosen CPU and CPU cooler, I had to then choose a motherboard. And again, this is also overkill. A B650 for this build would be plenty for most people, but as I mentioned, that special Type-C 3.2 Gen 2 port is only on certain motherboards, and this was one of them. It does come with gaming Wi-Fi. I think it's Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi 7. Again, crazy overkill, not necessary. Please don't do this if it's not required. Most we'll get to the GPU here in a sec, but most past generation GPUs, like a 30 series build, is plenty for gaming and plenty powerful for most things. Even basic content creation or intermediate content creation is plenty. Maybe a 40 series GPU if you have a little extra spend on it. And again, if you're doing a general gaming build or a general content creation build that's not over the top, that would be plenty. Never mind AM5. You could go AM4. You could really cut back on, well, the CPU, the RAM, probably the SSD card, and most definitely the motherboard. So yes, I've had to go a little bit extreme on the motherboard, and this is the B850A white RGB motherboard, ROG Strix, Asus. I even picked the more expensive brands, which is only because Asus, compared to Intel, is much easier to set up and has an easier BIOS system from what I've been able to find. So yeah, that is the motherboard, the chosen motherboard. It's really not too bad. Motherboards can go, like anything with these PC components, it can go right up to $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. Depends if you're talking about the GPU, CPU, even the case, even anything. Any part of this that I'm about to show you can go way beyond what I'm doing, even though what I'm doing is also expensive and in some terms crazy and over the top. Anyway, following that, we had the SSD, but I purchased this, and this is one of the last pieces to come, except for this other part. I got the WD Black This is the SN850X. I'm pretty sure it has, 7,300 megabits per second. It's very fast. It's a very good Gen 4, right? Gen 4. I can't tell actually, but here's the back of the box. I'm fairly certain this is a Gen 4. It's a 1 terabyte. It's an M.2. That's really it. Actually, I'm most nervous about this one. I saw some bad reviews on where I purchased it, which was through Amazon. It had like maybe 35,000 reviews. It's just when you go down to the lower end reviews, a lot of them were giving bad reviews on the ones with heatsink mainly. You can set these up wrong. You can do some damage to these if you don't set them up properly, which again we'll go over in part 2. Anyway, I am nervous over this one. Hopefully it works. Hopefully everything's fine. We also have a M.2 heatsink, aftermarket heatsink. I don't trust the one on the motherboard. These aren't expensive. Again, from my research, I trust Thermalright through the CPU cooler. Why not trust it through the SSD cooler? I haven't seen anybody talk anything bad about these, but these little suckers right here run real hot. They get hot, and I know Eric actually runs his raw. He doesn't have any heatsink on his, and his is hitting some pretty warm temperatures. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. His PC runs fine, and he's had it for a good 4 years or something now. So it's not that you can't. It's just if you have a really nice one and you're wanting to keep the longevity of it, you should definitely have a heatsink. The heatsinks on the motherboards technically are fine, but I'm trying to make these parts work as well as they can and last as long as they can. So I chose to get a aftermarket heatsink, and mine was Thermalright HR10 to 2280 Pro. Through research, it has a fan, has the tubes and the cooling. Again, I'm not sure. I do know the terms. It's just off the top of my tongue. I'm not fully certain. Dual side SSD cooling, full soldered heatsink, dual AGHB heat pipes. That's what I'm thinking of, and a premium thermal pad. The difference could be not so crazy. From the videos I watched, it seemed that it does do a good job at keeping this cool. So that's what I'm relying on. So that's my SSD choice, my aftermarket cooling choice. We'll have a look at the next piece. Or pieces, I should say. This is my GPU of choice. It is the Asus Dual 5060 with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. GDDR7 as PCIe 5.0 support. It is the overclocked version. It is white. That is my GPU of choice. A lot of people are probably going to say, why don't you get a 12 gigabyte or a 16 gigabyte? If you look at the prices, it's not worth it. Where's my thing? It's not worth it. Don't do it. Oh, this doesn't have the thing in the background. That's fine. This thing is way more powerful than most 30 series GPUs. It has AI capability. I mean, like, if you're willing to spend $1,000 to $2,000 or $1,000, $1,200 or $800 to $1,000 US prices on a GPU, go for it. But to critique and judge others who can't afford those crazy prices, because again, you can spend that on a CPU as well. You can spend that on, well, a CPU, a GPU. You could spend it on your RAM. You could spend it on an SSD card. Doesn't matter. You could really spend easily $5,000 to $15,000 on a PC build at the moment and justify it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying you can't. If you have the money, go for it. But if you're trying to, like, we're talking 5 years ago, a $2,000 PC was over the top for most things available. And what I'm trying to do doesn't require crazy specs. And if you look at anybody that uses a 5060, those are really, really nice running games and solid running software programs. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. The 50 series does the job. I mean, obviously, a 5070 with 12 gigabytes or 16 gigabytes of RAM, even a 5060 with 12 gigabytes is more ideal. But right now, those are going for $200 to $500 more US on top of the price I already paid for this. I'm saying this for the people that are, you know, if you're saying I need a 5070 and you're dissing the 5060, don't. Trust me, don't. Even the 5050, although I would spend the extra $50 to $100 on the 5060, but the 5060 is available in the 5070, 80, 90, everything's flying off the shelves and is wicked expensive. So do your research again on what you personally need for a PC. Don't, you know, there are certain things like this behind. Wait, we'll switch back. So that's the GPU. We'll move this out of the way for now. Is your power supply, which I did get the one that is recommended for the GPU I got, which is the 850 watt Asus Prime Gold. It does have its 80 plus gold certification. It's fully modular. It's very nice. It is what is recommended for my GPU. Get more wattage. Get a good CPU. Get a good cooling system. Get a case that has room to build this thing. Get, what's that? Get the aftermarket SSD card. You know, get a good SSD card, but don't go over the top. Honestly, you could get a 500 gigabyte just fine. As long as you're not loading that thing up with a crazy amount of storage, you should be fine. Sorry, I sound quite aggressive with this, but, you know, people have some really strong opinions when it comes to choosing PC parts, and almost all of the PC tutorial videos and videos that I should switch that I've watched are building with parts from different companies left, right, and center, and are running things just fine. If you go to Reddit, if you go to comment descriptions on videos, everyone is like losing their mind debating and fighting over who's got what, who's built what, and why to build it that way. And it's a headache. It is a big headache trying to research this type of stuff. Again, I'm going to have everything in the description that I've found very helpful, that I've found people that are really knowledgeable on these things and know, you know, I'm going from 0 to maybe 40, 50, and these guys are above 100. They've been doing it for years, and they're gonna kind of weave through the stuff that you don't need to worry about, and the only part that you'll end up having to do is research, you know, stuff like that. If you need a stupid type of port for a stupid new type of technology, whether it's if it's a special GoPro or camera, if it's a special capture card or special Stream Deck, if you're running a lot of programs at once, if you're trying to do a radio broadcast type system, which I kind of am wanting to do, be careful on where you get that information from, and comments and Reddit. Reddit's not so bad, I should say. It's mainly the comment descriptions, because everything you look at that's a review or a review or a build video, or they're talking about parts, if you go in the description and the comments, they're going to rip you apart no matter what you're using, how you're building it. I've tried to cover all my bases as much as possible, but still it is a struggle. So this is the power supply I've chosen. I'm sorry for ranting a little bit there for a second, but I chose the 850 because if I upgrade in the future, I need more power. I already have it, and it's not that much more expensive to get a larger power supply. So that is the power supply. All right, and this is the last group of things I have for the build, and these aren't necessary technically. Well, some of them are actually. So first off if you're not aware, it's definitely important to be aware. If you want to have less stress while building the PC, I recommend doing this just to have peace of mind, whether it works totally or not. While you're putting together your motherboard, while you're putting together your PC case, all of it, you might want to be able to ground yourself to those PCs if you have cats like I do, or you have a lot of carpet in your area. If you find that you just shock things all the time, therefore you have more electrical current than most people do, get one of these. They're like $10. You put it around your wrist, you attach it to a metal piece on your PC or motherboard, you call it a day. You're good. So get one of these. You can get them on Amazon for like $5 to $10. You should be fine. Then also you want to be prepared on the tools you require, which isn't really anything crazy. Honestly, I've heard that you need a Phillips head 2 or number 2, and that is this right here. I have an exact Phillips head 2 head that is magnetized on this one. However, I'm not even sure if that's required, so I have 2 smaller. No, they don't have a bit, so if they work, then I'll end up using them. If I need a longer stem than this one, then I have those available to me when I'm building. Then I bought the difference in price between 8GB, 16, 32, and 64 was very minimal. Actually, I think this was cheaper than the 32 or 16GB flash drive. But you're going to need this for Windows 11 or Windows 11 Pro, depending on what you're purchasing and what you're downloading. You're going to need a flash drive. So you can get them probably $10 to $15 US online on Amazon. But make sure you're prepared and you have one. You can use it for anything. You can, after the fact, it's not bad to have a flash drive. It's fine. This, I know it's in a bag. I know it looks crazy. I have a garbage bag, a little sandwich bag, and also some nitrile gloves, which will be for the thermal paste. I plan to use that little baggie actually, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear off the sides, and I'm going to use the inside of the bag that should theoretically be untouched, no dust, no pollen, no oils, no nothing. So I'm going to rip that, and I'm going to use the inside to spread the thermal paste. The outside will be what I put my finger in so I can spread it. That might not make sense now, but you'll understand more in part 2. That's what I plan to use. I'm keeping it in a bag just to keep oils and extra dust and stuff off of it. I also got a mouse, a keyboard, and a monitor. I'm not going to include the monitor or the mouse or the keyboard in the price of the build itself. That doesn't seem... Most people don't. I might provide both, PC without those 3, and then PC including the monitor, keyboard, and mouse. I did a lot of research. I tried keeping it relatively inexpensive for these 3, except for the monitor. But I got the monitor on sale, so you could justify that as well. I got this on sale as well. Through all the mouses and mice that I've researched, I'm not a big fan of the weight from Logitech. It's fine. Most people that I know that use it keep most of the weights out. Some put the weights in and just like that feeling. This is a very similar shape to it, which I do like. So I went with the Basilisk V3. I'm pretty sure this has... Let me see. This has 26. Where is it? Pretty sure it's 26,000 DPI. And it is wired, just because I'm pretty sure that's 26,000 DPI. Optical is Gen 2 switches. It has hyper scroll on the wheel, and I really like the feeling of this thing. It has the RGB fancy lighting, and it is wired. Wireless is fine. It's just the price of it is much more. So I went wired. Excuse me. We also have the GK61 keyboard. It's a 60% size. It is really tiny. Everything here I've opened up and I've checked to make sure that everything's in good shape. But I went with this guy. This guy's about $35, $40 US on Amazon. I recommend not going with a brand style keyboard like Logitech or Razer even. And I did actually buy a Razer keyboard first, but I went with this one after the fact. I returned the Razer. I got this one for half the price, if not a little bit more. And it was just a recommendation from a friend, and I really appreciate it because I've tried these keys on this thing. It is very, very nice. I don't have much to compare to for keyboards, but I'm really picky on the feel, and these feel great. I'm pretty sure these are brown switches. I'm pretty sure they're brown switches because those are for typing and for gaming. It was the only one for both, so maybe black. You know, get red, get black, or get brown, because these are really nice. They're a little more clicky, but they have the black switches require a bit more force. These don't require as much force, but it's almost the closest thing you can get to the black switches. And the black switches were more expensive, so I went with brown. Sorry for the rant. But if you're looking for a keyboard, the GK61 is a fantastic choice from what I've experienced so far. Be prepared on your CPU paste, thermal paste spreading technique. Again, you can put just a dollop and let it spread itself. I want to spread it a bit manually to make sure that it's fully covered, at least mostly. Make sure you have a flash drive for Windows 11. Make sure you have the tools required, and you also have a grounding waistband wrist strap so that you don't shock your motherboard to death, literally, while building. Be very careful about this. I'm going to do my best to show you what I mean when it's being built. And yeah, that's it. That is all I have for now. That is all the pieces, minus the monitor, but I might show that, I might not show that. It's a MSI 27-inch curved 180 hertz 0.5 millisecond monitor. It was very nice. I got it for about 25% off, and that's the only reason I would get something like that. It beats the monitor I have at the moment, even though I will be using both. But yeah, that's it. That is every piece, every part that I have so far for this build and what I will be using. It will all be unboxed as in part 2. You'll see what I mean when we get there. But yeah, this is Aimless Tech 1, part 1. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the next part. This part's just kind of an overview and a little bit of a prequel to the next part. Yeah, next part's gonna be long. This part might already be long. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's it. That's all. Again, like usual, I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. And aim, dream, have hope, and drive to justify love and passion always. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in part 2. Aimless out.